Hey everybody, in this video we're going to tell you when you should
and shouldn't
split the party.
Splitting the party works really well when you need to gather a bunch of information. Perhaps the warlock and the bard go off and they talk to all of their contacts. They use their charisma and people skills to get that information. And then the wizard can go off to the library and look up the academic information they'll need. And then you can come back together and come up with the plan to move forward.
One of the times I really like to split the party or suggest splitting the party if I'm the DM or say I'm going to go off with part of the group if I'm one of the players is during shopping montages or shopping sections of a session. And one of the reasons why I think splitting the party during that works is because you can shift focus from one group to the next pretty quickly, and people can say, okay, well, I'm looking to get my armor repaired, buy some healing potions, and I really want to see if I can find a ring of protection. It'll speed things up a little bit, and it lets everybody have their moment and then move on to someone else. And especially if you've got the group split into like 2 or maybe 3 different groups, things speed up.
Splitting the party also works when you are playing to the character's strengths. Say you need to make a lot of money so you can buy a horse, or you can buy whatever gear you need for this next adventure. The bard and the rogue can go off and they can gamble, they can play cards, they can bluff their way into a bunch of money, whereas the barbarian and the fighter might go, hey, we're going to split off and we're going to go find a fighting ring that we can make money off of that way. And so each group is playing their strengths. The barbarian might not be great at gambling, but he's going to be a lot better at fighting.
I think that splitting the party works great if you are planning or executing a heist. Now, there are some systems where this is the name of the game. We played in a Shadowrun campaign for close to 4, maybe 5 years. And really almost every single time we played, we would split the party. I would run off as the face in order to make some contacts and get us some of the equipment that we need, while somebody else, our street samurai, found us one extra person to be muscle and beat up a couple of low-level subordinates in order to steal the access cards that we needed. And our technomancer would get the van, he has rockets, all ready to go. That's something that we were able to shine and have our own special little moment, do some role play, roll some dice, maybe even a tiny bit of combat, small combat, and then all come back together and say, this is what we did, here's how it worked, here's how it didn't, let's figure out what's new, and then move forward.
Splitting the party works as long as you're still working towards an active goal. You can go off and gather information separately, gear separately, and come back together and tackle it all together. Or you can also tackle it from, maybe multiple angles, but you're still working towards the same thing as a group.
As a GM, if you know that your group is going to split up, they've told you that's what they want to do, I really suggest asking who knows exactly what it is that they want to do. Because if you have one group or a pair of people or even just one person who says, I know exactly what I'm doing and I know how I want to try to accomplish it, it's really nice to go to them first. And maybe you've got another group that says, well, we have an idea of what we want to do, but we haven't quite figured it out yet. Or maybe the player says, I know what I want, but I need to double check in the player's manual to make sure how I do this specific type of training. That way, the people that are still trying to figure it out in real life can figure it out, and the people that know exactly what they're doing can jump right into their scene.
When you're the GM and your party decides to split up, I find it's best to find ways to kind of bounce between the groups so that you aren't spending an hour and a half with one group and then another hour and a half with the other group, and you have a lot of dead time for those players who aren't in the active scene. Find those kind of natural breaks to go, we're going to pause here and shift focus over to the other group, find out what they're going, and then shift back. I like to try and keep it, every 10, maybe up to 30 minutes before kind of checking in with the other group. Just keep everybody engaged in the session and nobody feels bored. Special thanks to all of our patrons, especially Arvi. If you want to support our channel, you can head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out the perks of being a patron.
What about times to not split the party? If you're a player, really encourage the other players not to do that. Or if you're the GM, say, roll a d20, don't let them see it, and then say, you have an idea that maybe this is a good time to have your friends at your side. Gently nudge everyone to stick together. Is if there's a major combat encounter, right? If you know that you're going into a big fight against a stone giant or a dragon or a beholder or something like that, then stick together as a group. It's going to let you help each other out. It's going to give you more options. And, you know, maybe you can talk about at the last minute how you're trying to do your pincer move or whatever that is. But if you're trying to get multiple things to happen at the same time, well, hopefully you've already split your party and done your pre-planning or information gathering or something like that. But when it's time for the big fight, you want to have your friends by your side. And think about it this way. If you've got two little tiny groups that are going into the fight, well, then the big bad evil person only has to fight a smaller group. And it's a lot easier to wipe out that small group and then wipe out that small group. We know that this is how it works with kobolds. Don't be the kobold.
And as a game master, a great time to actually suggest splitting the party is if you know that there are some players that are going to miss a session. You can kind of introduce a reason why their characters might split off from the party, maybe to follow their own side quest, or the rest of the party is going to go off hunting, and these characters have stuff to do in town. It will provide a reason why those characters aren't there during that session. And then the next session, when you have everybody together, maybe take a few minutes to just ask those players, hey, what were your characters up to while the rest of the party was off on this adventure?
My last piece of advice for whether you should or shouldn't split the party comes down to how big are the story branches. If it's little tiny story branches, story twigs, then sure, split the party. Maybe there's a little tiny story snippet of me trying to get a custom bracer built because I am paying back a favor that the fighter did. Or someone else in the party has a little small storyline of meeting up with their old mentor at the Wizards College. Sure, that's going to take what? 5, 10, 20 minutes a piece? That sounds great. But if you've been presented with two major plot lines, or if you're the GM presenting two major plot lines, don't split the party. Don't split the party if your two options are get on a boat and sail to sea or grab your camels and ride for 4 days into the desert. Don't split the party. Just come back to that side quest later and keep everyone together for now.
And splitting the party doesn't work if you aren't paying attention to who's going in what group. So, for example, if both groups might be running into encounters, combat encounters, don't send both of the healers in one group and all of the fighters in another group. Like, that's just not going to work so well. Also, just be mindful of, who's going with whom. Like, maybe the paladin that has an oath not to lie shouldn't team up with the rogue who's going to have to tell a few fibs to make their way into the mansion. That's probably just not going to work so well. So pay attention to who's saying, oh, I'm going with this person and I'm going with this person. And maybe stop and say, oh, it might actually work better if you're going to go with this group because I want to do this, or this is the approach that I had planned. Talk it out and don't just randomly split up.
When I'm DMing or GMing or whatever, when I'm running a game and the party splits up, I try to find a way to ask what the contingency plans are. Now, I don't want to spoil what I have in store, but I like to ask and say, okay, so everyone knows what they're doing. Has everybody figured out what they're going to do if things go sideways or if it doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to? And that's me as the GM double checking with my players, not necessarily trying to address directly the characters or anything, because what that does is helps people from metagaming. If you've got two groups and this is the plan, Group A is going to go gather information while Group B runs through the mansion and steals everything and gets out as fast as possible. If you give your players a chance to say, okay, well, let's come up with some backup plans. Let's make sure we know what we're doing. If Group A gathers information and then gets arrested and is being taken to the secret dungeons below the mansion, well, Group B hopefully doesn't have metagamers in there. Because Group B shouldn't say, oh yeah, we're looting, and then we just decide, hey, let's look around the mansion a little bit longer. And right, we all see what that second group's doing. They're trying to stay there so they can meet up with the first group. They're going against the plan they had set. If as a GM, you give them that opportunity to come up with those contingency plans and solidify, tell you, this is exactly what we're going to try to do, it hopefully stops that metagaming from happening. And if you're a player and you're giving that option, then, well, make sure you don't metagame just because you heard Group A had things go a little bit sideways.
So those are our thoughts on how to split the party and when you shouldn't split the party. Do you have any additional advice or times where you absolutely wouldn't split the party? Let us know down in the comments below.
Really hope that you liked this video, and if you did, make sure that you're subscribed and that you comment and tag a friend and share it on social media. If you're not following our social media, you absolutely should be, and we hope to see you there. And until next time, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dawn.
And this is Roll for Initiative.
Bye.
Bye. One of the best times where you can split the party is don't. Don't ever do it. It's a bad idea, and you're all gonna die.
I'm gonna have to check the focus again.